Well, welcome to Tuesday's Thought for the Day. I've talked here before about how we need to be careful to check where things come from before we pass them on. It's very easy to pass on something that someone has said for a wrong reason, or someone just written in order to wind people up. But it's not just where things have come from we need to be careful about. We also need to be careful that we get the whole picture, the context, as well as just the soundbite, the snippet. I saw a BBC article just a few days ago about a young Canadian man who just came across a little video of the head of Pfizer, one of the companies that's manufactured a lot of the vaccines that are used against COVID around the world. And the head of Pfizer was saying in this video, we know that 2 doses of the vaccine offer very limited protection, if any. That's where the clip ended. And this guy, he hadn't been particularly sceptical about things. He obviously wasn't very happy about how life's been over the last couple of years. He was a bus driver in Quebec in Canada. He just put a comment on Twitter to say, if this is legit, it has to sound off some alarms somewhere. And of course, the way social media goes, that was then picked up, and he was bombarded with all sorts of other anti-vax propaganda, and people saying, finally you've seen the light, and so on. And he was a bit surprised by that. He started thinking things he hadn't thought before, really. But thankfully he didn't get too drawn into that. He went and searched out the whole interview that little clip had been taken from. And he discovered that what Albert Bourla, I think his name was, or Albert Bourla was saying, was that 2 doses of the existing vaccines don't really protect you from catching the Omicron variant, but they do provide a lot of protection against it harming you seriously, and the 3rd dose even more so. So in context, it wasn't that the vaccines aren't effective, but that you need to understand what they do. And he told the reporter, I don't know quite how this was found out, but he told the reporter that he was so grateful that he'd actually done that work to go and find the whole picture. Otherwise he could have got drawn into something and really had his mind messed with. And it reminded me of a phrase I heard some time ago, that if you take a text out of context, you're left with a con. We need to understand the context of what's being said. We need to understand the whole picture. And it's so too with everything. It's so true with the Bible too. Whenever someone shares a comforting verse with me, the first thing I do is I get my Bible out and I look it up and say, who said that? When did they say it? Why did they say it? What did they say immediately before? What did they say afterwards? Because so often we take the verse out of context. We take the comfort without the challenge. Just one example, a verse that people often like to post or stick on the thing above their desk or put around is Jeremiah 29 verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. And they are encouraging words, aren't they? But so often they're taken to say, well, God has plans to prosper me. So, well, this new car I've just bought, that's God's plan for me. Prosperity is God's plan and purpose for me. It says so here in the Bible. But if you open your Bible and look it up, you'll see that the context of that, the previous verse says, when 70 years are completed, I will come to you and fulfill my good promise. The book of Jeremiah is a warning to God's people. God's immediate plans for his people at this stage are not very comfortable. It's actually that they're going to spend 70 years in exile. But this verse is a promise that through those dark times, God will still be with them. That there will be an end to the dark times, and that it's that same promise to us that as God takes us through things, sometimes allows us to go through difficult times to refine us, to help us to understand Him, understand ourselves better. The dark time isn't the end of the story. He does have plans to prosper, plans to give us hope in the future. And if you read a little bit further on, you'll see that the next verse says, "Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart." For those who seek, the message is that for those who seek God above all else, there will be restoration. They will find God. They will be found by God. God will be found by them. They'll have a new relationship. There will be restoration. And so these words are not words to stroke us in our prosperity. They're words to comfort us in our darkness. Words to call us not to, in a sense, a complacent comfort, but to discipleship and challenge us to seek God, to hold on to Him through the dark times. So that's just one example. There are many, many others. So if you see a verse, or you see a news report, find out what it comes from, or a clip that seems surprising. Find out where it comes from. Who is this guy? Why is he saying it? Someone sends you a verse in the Bible. Look it up. See the whole of what God is saying to us. And in that there is riches far more sustaining than just the glib words of comfort or the discomforting words of something out of context. May God bless you today. We'll talk to you again soon.